Welcome to Royal Secret. The Danish royal court has always held a reputation for grace, tradition, and quiet strength. But recently, one subtle yet powerful moment sent shockwaves through the realm of royal observers. Cameras clicked, royal watchers gasped, and longtime followers of royal etiquette found themselves caught in a storm of speculation when Queen Mary of Denmark, for the very first time since the historic abdication, chose not to curtsy to her mother-in-law, Queen Margrethe II. At first glance, it may have appeared to be an innocent lapse, a fleeting moment easily explained by timing or camera angles. But as more footage and analysis emerged, it became clear, this was no accident. It was a deliberate deviation, and the symbolism could not be ignored. For over 5 decades, Queen Margrethe stood as Denmark's monarch, respected, beloved, and often compared to the great matriarchs of European royalty. Her reign was marked by consistency, cultural commitment, and an unshakable devotion to duty. Her abdication in January shocked the nation, especially as she stepped down not due to age or health, but as a conscious choice to pass the crown to her son, now King Frederick X. In this monumental transition, the spotlight naturally shifted to Frederick and his Australian-born wife, Mary, now the reigning Queen Consort of Denmark. Mary, long admired for her style, poise, and evolution from commoner to queen, has carefully navigated royal expectations with discipline and charm. So what made her break protocol now? Her decision to forego the traditional curtsy toward Queen Margrethe in a recent royal gathering was not just a shift in posture. It was a powerful symbol of her new role, autonomy, and authority within the Danish monarchy. Curtsying within royal contexts is more than a physical act. It signifies deference, recognition of hierarchical status, and the deeply ingrained traditions that bind the royals to centuries-old customs. Up until this very moment, Mary had always demonstrated the utmost reverence for Margrethe, often performing the curtsy with grace and respect during public and private events. This simple gesture, however, vanished at the most unexpected time, setting tongues wagging in palace halls and media rooms alike. Some analysts suggest that Mary's lack of curtsy was more than a personal decision. It was a protocol shift reflecting her now equal royal status. With the change in reign, Mary has moved from crown princess to queen, and while Queen Margrethe holds the title of Queen Emerita, she is no longer the reigning monarch. In theory, the protocol no longer obligates Mary to curtsy to her mother-in-law. This could very well be a visible sign that Mary is asserting her position as the current Queen of Denmark, a sovereign consort whose role is no longer secondary, but central to the public and ceremonial life of the Danish court. Others argue that the gesture, or lack thereof, reveals more about the underlying dynamics between Mary and Margrethe. The relationship between the two women has long been under a polite veil of royal cordiality. While never outwardly strained, subtle moments through the years have shown the potential tension between them, especially when it comes to matters of royal tradition, child rearing, and modernity. Margrethe, known for her strong will and traditional views, often upheld the monarchy's old ways. Mary, on the other hand, has long championed causes such as gender equality, mental health, and progressive policies through her foundation, occasionally stepping into a more modern, assertive role that may not always align with the older generation's values. The lack of curtsy may well represent this quiet evolution, a subtle rebellion wrapped in royal elegance. It was not shouted or dramatized, but its impact rippled across the nation. Danish citizens, traditionally known for their reserved nature, took to social media, forums, and talk shows, asking, has Queen Mary truly broken with tradition? Is this the sign of a more confident, autonomous monarchy? And perhaps more intriguingly, does this signal a broader shift in the balance of power behind palace walls? Royal protocol experts have weighed in, noting that while Mary was not required to curtsy, royal etiquette is often guided more by custom than by obligation. In the British monarchy, for instance, Queen Camilla curtsied to the late Queen Elizabeth II even after her husband became king, out of respect and symbolism rather than necessity. In Denmark's case, the absence of a curtsy from Mary may indicate a cultural and generational shift in how deference is shown, or not shown, in the new monarchy. Photographers captured the moment Queen Mary entered the room, elegantly dressed, dignified as always. Queen Margrethe stood nearby, smiling, regal in her elder years. Their eyes met, but Mary's body language remained firm, poised, and upright. No dip of the knees. No lowering of the head. It was not an act of defiance, but rather a quiet declaration. She stood as an equal, not an inferior, and in that single instant, the world took notice. Royal watchers and body language experts dissected the encounter frame by frame. Analysts pointed out that Mary's posture was strong, controlled, and measured. Her eye contact with Queen Margrethe was steady, warm, and respectful, but not deferential. Queen Margrethe herself did not appear shocked or offended, suggesting that perhaps the matter had been discussed or was expected. The public, however, was not prepared for this visual rupture of tradition. In the days that followed, headlines from Danish and international outlets flooded the media landscape. A new queen, a new order, one Danish tabloid read. No curtsy, no problem, asked a British paper. Debates sparked across royal commentary circles, with some hailing the moment as a sign of female empowerment within the monarchy, while others feared it marked the erosion of cherished royal values. Supporters of Queen Mary praised her courage and subtle symbolism. She's showing strength, not disrespect, one commentator noted. She's stepping into her role with authenticity and clarity. Critics, however, argued that even if protocol technically allows the absence of a curtsy, tradition still holds emotional weight. The monarchy survives on symbolism, another observer wrote. When the symbols are removed, what's left? Among those observing the event closely were younger Danes, many of whom see Queen Mary as a modern role model. Her decision may have resonated more deeply with a generation that values authenticity over ritual. By not curtsying, Mary may have reached across tradition to connect with a younger, evolving Denmark, one that respects the past but embraces progress. Royal insiders remain tight-lipped about whether the moment was choreographed or spontaneous. But whispers within the palace suggest that Queen Mary has been increasingly taking control over ceremonial decisions. As her children, especially Princess Isabella and Prince Christian, prepare to assume more public roles, Queen Mary's influence is expected to grow. This moment could be the beginning of a new narrative within the Danish court, where tradition is observed with nuance rather than rigidity. Queen Margrethe's response, though unspoken, was equally powerful. She accepted the moment with grace, not flinching or expressing disapproval. It was the action, or inaction, of a monarch who understands that transition comes with change. She ruled with strength and intellect, and perhaps her greatest legacy will be allowing space for evolution within the royal structure. What remains clear is that Queen Mary's decision, whether deliberate or instinctive, has carved a new path forward. In the rich tapestry of royal life, it's often the quiet moments, the unsaid, the unseen, that speak the loudest. And in that split second of not curtsying, Mary announced that she is no longer just a participant in royal life. She is now one of its leading authors. As Denmark moves forward under King Frederik X and Queen Mary, royal traditions will undoubtedly continue, but they will evolve. Whether it's in gestures of protocol or causes of public interest, Mary's reign is already signaling something new. A blend of elegance and assertion, deference and confidence, continuity and change. The symbolism of that single moment, the absence of a curtsy, has become the cornerstone of an ongoing conversation about identity, authority, and progression within the Danish monarchy. In a world where image carries as much power as action, Queen Mary's upright stance was more than posture, it was political. It was cultural. It was historical. And perhaps, it was deeply personal. The Danish monarchy has never been embroiled in the kind of controversies that have surrounded other European courts. It has been a beacon of quiet dignity, a monarchy that has survived modernity through a fine balance of tradition and adaptation. But with one generation handing the crown to the next, that balance has shifted. Queen Mary now stands at the center of this redefinition. Long gone are the days when royal women were expected to fade behind their husbands and in-laws. Mary, like Queen Letizia of Spain and Queen Maxima of the Netherlands, represents a new archetype, a royal consort who is educated, assertive, and purpose-driven. Her years of service as crown princess were not passive. She actively built a name for herself, not just as a royal figure but as a human rights advocate, a voice for mental health awareness, and a modern leader shaping Denmark's cultural future. Now, as queen, her influence has only grown stronger, and so have the expectations. Behind the palace gates, sources have hinted that Queen Mary's new team includes protocol advisors who are re-evaluating ceremonial norms. The lack of a curtsy may have been the first visible sign of these internal shifts. Several insiders say the Queen has expressed a desire to modernize aspects of court etiquette to align more closely with 21st century sensibilities. This includes updating rules about gender-based deference, streamlining dress codes, and even altering the way royals greet each other in public events. According to one senior court official, Mary believes respect is shown in deeds, not just gestures. And while she holds Queen Margrethe in the highest esteem, she reportedly sees the monarchy's survival in embracing the essence of duty rather than the optics of tradition. But tradition dies hard. And while many admire Queen Mary's decision, not all members of the extended royal family are aligned with the change. In hushed voices, palace aides have shared that some older relatives saw the moment as premature and potentially divisive. They believe that while Mary is now queen, Queen Margrethe remains a symbolic figurehead who deserves the curtsy as a gesture of generational respect, if not hierarchical deference. The absence of such a gesture, they argue, could cause confusion among the public and risk appearing as a snub to the woman who led the monarchy through decades of transformation and stability. Queen Margrethe herself, ever the diplomat, has not commented publicly on the matter. Known for her sharp intellect and artistic sensibility, she is not one to dwell on outward gestures. But those who know her well say she has always been attuned to the visual language of monarchy, the way a bow, a wave, or a smile can communicate power, unity, or dissent. She likely noticed Mary's choice, but she chose not to react, reinforcing her own legacy as a queen who knows when to hold on and when to let go. Observers also note that the moment occurred at a time when the royal family was carefully crafting its public image post-abdication. The monarchy has been navigating a series of carefully staged events meant to solidify King Frederic's role as head of state and Mary's role as queen consort. These appearances are not spontaneous. They are calibrated, rehearsed, and reviewed. For Mary to omit the curtsy in such a setting was therefore not only visible, it was intentional. It sent a clear message that a new chapter has begun, one in which old rituals may be re-evaluated, revised, or respectfully retired. The Danish public, known for its pragmatism, has responded in diverse ways. Older Danes, many of whom grew up with Queen Margrethe as their constant monarch, expressed surprise and some degree of sadness. For them, the curtsy symbolized continuity. One elderly royal fan told local press, "It felt like the closing of a book I've been reading my whole life." Younger generations, however, took to social media to support Queen Mary's choice. Comments flooded platforms like X, Instagram, and TikTok, applauding her poise, her strength, and her symbolism. "This is what a modern queen looks like," one user wrote. Another posted, "Mary is showing us how royalty can still be relevant today." The international press also joined the chorus. Royal commentators in the United Kingdom, Australia, and Germany dissected the moment across television panels and columns. Australia, in particular, paid close attention to the development. Mary remains a national icon back home, and her rise to queen has always been a point of national pride. Her every move is monitored with a mixture of admiration and scrutiny. Australian media quickly picked up on the story, interpreting the no curtsy moment as a clear sign of her transition from outsider to sovereign figure. But what does this all mean for King Frederick? The monarch has remained silent about the event, as expected of his role, but those within the court say he supports his wife's approach to modernizing the royal household. King Frederick and Queen Mary are known to have a strong, united relationship, often described as a partnership rather than a hierarchy. Their joint reign appears to reflect this philosophy. While Frederick honors the legacy of his mother, he also seems willing to embrace his wife's ideas for evolution, even if it means allowing old customs to quietly slip into the past. There's also the matter of their children. Prince Christian, the heir apparent, is now stepping into adulthood with increasing public responsibilities. Every decision made by his parents sets the tone for what kind of king he may one day become. If Queen Mary is signaling a break from rigid traditions, it may be to prepare her son for a more flexible, more engaged, and more relatable monarchy. These gestures, or absences of them, are not random, they are crafted to shape the next generation's legacy. It's not the first time Mary has been a trendsetter in the royal world. Her fashion choices have long made headlines, blending elegance with subtle political statements. She has worn designers from both Denmark and Australia to emphasize her dual heritage. She has recycled outfits at formal occasions to promote sustainability. And she has frequently chosen symbolic jewelry, like brooches in the shape of hearts, birds, or flowers, to send messages of peace, resilience, and love. Her body is her canvas, her clothing her communication. And now, her gestures, or lack thereof, have become just as powerful. Queen Mary's transformation from an ordinary Australian woman to one of Europe's most respected queens has been marked by grace, strength, and intelligence. She has not rushed the process. She has studied it. She has mastered it. And now, as queen, she is crafting her own legacy, not in opposition to Queen Margrethe's, but as a continuation of it in a new voice. The no curtsy moment was not rebellion, it was evolution. And yet, evolution often feels like disruption. Especially in institutions like monarchy, where every step forward is measured against centuries of precedent. But as Queen Mary continues to navigate her role with authenticity and clarity, the Danish people may come to see this new posture as a symbol of strength, not subversion. The absence of a curtsy was a single beat in a larger royal symphony, a reminder that tradition is not about repetition, but about meaning. In time, this moment will likely be studied in the same way that historians look at Queen Elizabeth II's post-war broadcasts, Queen Juliana of the Netherlands' decision to abdicate early, or Queen Sylvia of Sweden's early advocacy for mental health. Small gestures can mark monumental change. And for Queen Mary, standing tall without a curtsy may be remembered not as a breach of etiquette, but as the beginning of her reign's defining tone. As royal followers and citizens look to the future, one question lingers in the air. Will this single moment redefine how we view power, respect, and tradition in modern monarchies? Was it the end of an era or the birth of a new one? And what, indeed, will be the next symbol that signals the direction of the Danish crown? So tell us, was Queen Mary's decision not to curtsy an act of rightful self-assertion, or a subtle spark in the slow-burning fire of royal change? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and join our channel for more deep dives into the hidden world of royalty.